All right, it is 7:30 on Wednesday, May the 19th, 2021, and I would like to call this meeting of the Mechanicsburg Borough Council to order. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Moment of silence, please. All right, Mr. Czersky, roll call, please.
President Weber.
Here.
Vice President Miller.
Here.
Councilperson Egerton.
Here.
Councilman Anthony.
Present.
Councilman Bucher is tardy. Councilman Pellman.
Here.
Councilman Whitcomb.
Here.
Mayor Ritter.
He's muted.
Yeah, he's here. I know but he's muted. Chief Myers.
Here.
Chief Neff.
Here.
Solicitor Z.
Zai, thank you.
Zai.
Yes, I am here.
I did it. I messed it up anyway, Gary. Engineer Rogalski.
Here.
And EMC Wardle.
Here.
All right, and Assistant Manager Boyer and Sarah Martin are not here this evening, so that's you have a quorum, sir.
You're wearing several hats tonight, Mr. Czersky. Thank you very much for covering all that. All right, are there any guests this evening?
I have none that's scheduled, but we do have two groups that are with us tonight. I will let you and Councilperson Egerton introduce the people that they've invited.
Okay, go ahead, Mrs. Egerton.
So a group of students and Professor Miller are on from Central Penn. They study media and politics. So they are watching as part of their curriculum, and we're excited to have them. I had the opportunity this past week to speak to the class, and they were very engaged and hopefully, community activists in the future.
Excellent. And we can see them somewhere on here. I guess Ryan and the professor's Mr. Miller,
And
right?
Alexis Shugart, Caden Freeman, Paul Miller, and Ryan Stevens.
Very good. Welcome, folks. Pleasure to have you with us tonight. Okay, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Scouts from, I believe it's Troop 300. And the person in charge tonight is Linda Willis. So I'm going to ask that she introduce the Scouts to us, please.
Yes, we're happy to be with you tonight. We just did a tour of Mechanicsburg, and we've come back to the fellowship hall at the church, and we are all watching as a group. So with us tonight, we have Austin, Cyrus, Lincoln, Zachary, Ian, Sam, and Harry. They are all going to be observing. This is a part of their requirements for their citizenship in the community merit badge. And we're happy to be here with you tonight.
Thank you very much and welcome, Scouts. Nice to have you with us. Are there any citizens' comments or requests at this time? Hearing none, we'll move on. Any correspondence, Mr. Czersky?
I have no correspondence, sir.
Thank you. All right, we come to the portion of the meeting where we need to approve the minutes of the regularly stated meeting or held meeting, excuse me, of May 4th, 2021. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make that motion.
That sounded like Mr. Whitcomb. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Mrs. Egerton is a second. Is there any discussion, additions, deletions, or otherwise?
There's a change that needs to be made in, I believe, the last paragraph. I'm looking for it. There was an I had talked about at the end about the Mechanicsburg Bucks program. And I'd indicated that up until that point, through the first two sessions, there was $7,500 put into the system and through the local businesses, not 75,000.
That would have been nice.
75,000, but yeah, it was 7,500.
A
We
little typo
anticipate
there.
another 5,000 or more for the third round that just ended. But yeah, 7,500, not 75,000.
But we still appreciate them. We still appreciate it.
We'll get that
Very
change
good.
made.
Thanks.
We'll make that change. So any other additions or deletions? All right, Mr. Szewski, we will ask you to do
All right.
the usual, or do you want me to do that tonight? Since
I
you're
got
not
it.
here?
I got
I'll
it.
do it. I'll do it.
Okay, you do it.
Unless I hear a negative response, we'll ask Mr. Szewski to record the vote as unanimous with the change that Mr. Anthony indicated. I'm hearing no negative responses. The minutes are approved. All right, we come to that section of the meeting where we look at our borough board liaisons. The first is the Environmental Advisory Council. Mr. Bucher did send a short synopsis. Mr. Szewski, do you want to handle that?
I don't. Yeah, just a minute. Let me go to pull it up here.
I'm not sure I can pull it up because
I can. I just have to find it here on my phone. He spoke about at the EAC was discussed the natural playground, a few other things, plus also the cooperative with the county through also with cooperation of the authority, the rain barrel program, and there's going to be a series of 3 workshops with them. They are going to be looking at one, the rain barrels, what the runoff means, and some of the MS4 requirements that are being talked about. So, and the other part that he had on there was the HARB meeting, which wasn't really a HARB meeting because they didn't have a quorum. And what was on the agenda was a roof replacement at the west end of town and the work on Mark Walker's building on the corner that has been struck with the tractor and trailers. So that was his reports.
Okay, thank you. When he gets back here, if he does, if you have any specific questions, we can entertain them at that time, if that's okay with the rest of council. All right, very good. We'll go on to the loan review board. Mr. Miller.
I have no report from loan review. There has not been any applications.
All right, how
or any-
about municipal authority? You're up again.
Municipal authority met on Monday night, and we had a pretty short agenda, but the most significant thing we did was I would say that we denied in part and approved in part an appeal from Landmark on their stormwater fee. Part of the denial was the challenge on the constitutionality of the stormwater fee and the rate structure for undeveloped parcels. And part of the approval was on administrative nuances of some of the appeals that were on 2 of the appeals that were filed, one from November and one from February. That's all I have from the authority at this point.
All right, any questions for Mr. Miller? Hearing none, we'll move on to the Planning Commission. Mr. Pellman.
Okay, the Planning Commission did meet on April 26th by Zoom, 6:30 that evening. It was the meeting was led by Vice Chairman Stoner. I unfortunately was not at the meeting because it totally slipped my mind, so I had to get information on what took place there. The only real business that was conducted was a conditional use application by Jason Smith, who lives on East Main and purchased a house next to him and wanted to use the newly purchased residence for office space. And the commission, they did have enough for a quorum. The commission did recommend a conditional use application to our council for approval, and I think that occurs, Roger, if I'm not mistaken, June 1st.
Yes, yeah, it's on the agenda for tonight.
Okay, yeah, okay. All right, and that's all I have.
Okay, any questions? Thank you, Mr. Pellman. Recreation Board, Mrs. Agerton.
So we met last Tuesday, the 12th. We discussed several things. And you'll see below, we have some pool business to address this evening. Just talking about the pool repairs and for the summer and the loosening of the restrictions that have been set forth for our state. So Roger can update us about the pool. I'm hoping that he's gonna have some good news because I feel like there's been some nice days that have happened, but who knows? And then we also have been talking about Community Day and our parts and making it a successful event on August 7th. So you'll see some advertising going out about getting flags for veterans. We are partnering with the Legion to get those up and running. They look very beautiful. So if you see something and you have a veteran you'd like to honor, we'd be happy to have you get involved with that and have their flag hung up in Mechanicsburg. So the logistics of that are still, we're working those out, but we should have that all done by August. That is all my report.
Very good. Any questions for Mrs. Agerton? Hearing none, we move on to the Shade Tree Commission, and that's Mr. Bucher. Do you have anything, Mr. Cieszewski?
They did not have a meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
The only,
Yeah, I have a
sorry?
question. I have a question I think would be appropriate for under Shade Tree Commission. I just noticed that the trees on Walnut Street were cut down by the North Side School. And did they need approval from the Shade Tree Commission?
No, it was part of the land development plan. They are going to be replaced.
Do you know why they had to be cut down?
Readjusting the curb widths and the curb radiuses for the driveways coming in and moving the driveways. It would have destroyed too much of the roots, and they were afraid the trees were going to die. So they're going to replace them. There's actually 48 trees going to be replaced on that property. So those ones that you've seen cut down along there are going to be replaced with other ones, plus the rain garden items that are going to be put in the front of the front lawn there.
That's good information. Thank you, Roger.
Yep.
It was sad to see the older trees cut down.
Yeah, because it was just 3 years ago, they cut down the ones on the other side of the PP&L, cut down the other ones on the other side of the road.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much. School board, the only news I have from the school board is the board hired a new principal for the kindergarten academy. Kathy Healy is retiring at the end of this year, and the new person's name is Kristen Sachs, and she comes to Mechanicsburg from Derry Township School District. And that's about the only pertinent information that I have to share from the school board tonight. All right. We move on to the manager's report.
Okay. Everyone, I've submitted a written report, and there was just a couple items on here I would like to highlight that maybe need a little more explanation. We met with Engineer Rogalski on the 23rd of April, and Mr. Hennessy discussed the energy optics and review of our energy consumption. They're going to do this basically at no cost to find out where they can save us money and a few other things. And they'll get back to us on pricing and figuring out a plan for that. They're used to dealing with larger municipalities, so that may not be beneficial to us to deal with them right now. Tuesday the 4th was a very busy day. We talked again with Engineer Rogalski, his intern Julia Wolanowski, and Superintendent Huey to discuss a package system that Pannoni offers for data collection. This kind of goes along with one of the goals that I had pointed out that I would like to see us do is a complete survey of the borough systems infrastructure wise so that we can create a good plan. The authority would be involved with this, also dealing with the stormwater and the sewer side. And it kind of ties in with the next thing I'd like to bring up. On the 6th of May, I met with John DiMartino from EJ Brenneman about the full depth reclamation. And I think I included some information in everybody's packet about the full depth reclamation paving. This would be a perfect thing for us to do here in the borough. I spoke to Engineer Rogalski a little bit about it. They've had a few projects where they've done this. They're looking at a 30 to 40% cost savings on paving. So I would really like to encourage the adoption of the capital improvement plan. We start prioritizing projects with the authority in conjunction with the authority, and we get something moving forward, because he's pretty confident that once we start down this road, we will find that we can do potentially more and more projects every year, and try to get ahead of the curve. So we're far behind as it is, and we need to get ahead of the curve as far as paving roads. And then the last thing was on the 11th, the amenity inspectors training and testing for the pool. And I attended a rec commission meeting, but the amenities inspector training was in Harrisburg. It was 2 days. It was a pretty intense seminar. So we will not have to go outside to get an inspector for the Big Blue and the Aqua Zippins and any of the other smaller amenities we have at the swimming pool. We can do that in-house. I'm expecting my test results tomorrow. I've already done the inspection on the slides. I'm just waiting for my certificate so I can file the report on them. That's all I have. Any questions?
Hey, Roger, are there any communities that we can drive on to see how that remediation feels like on pavement wise? Do they have other municipalities that they've worked with and done it with?
Yes, there's quite a few of them. They've done a lot, even up north, because one of my big concerns is Pennsylvania is notorious for potholes because of the freeze thaw situation. So one of the things I brought up with them was, how does this react with the freeze thaw? And basically what he said is with the cement that they mix in with the underlay, what they grind up, and they roll that out flat and then they let it set. He said, as long as you don't let it rain on that very hard, he said, you could pave roads with that. It gets very hard. It gets like concrete, what is concrete. And he said, then when you pave over it, what you end up with is 12 inches of subbase instead of like our specs call for 6 inches of subbase, 6 inches or 4 inches of BCBC, and then 2 inches of top coat. So what you end up with is like 12 inches of subbase, and then the 2 inch, 3 inch, whatever top coat you want to put on it. So it's a more substantial base. There are a few adjustments we'd have to make to our specs as far as road repair and stuff like that. And I actually saw one that I would like to start looking at as far as our street cuts go. One of the ones that they're talking about is if anybody comes in and cuts open a road for after we've paved it within so many years, they have to pave 10 feet on both sides of that and curb to curb, which means that we won't end up with small patches. We'd end up with a full width patch and only 2 seams, which unfortunately in a situation like that, it's going to pass the fee on to the resident, but it's going to help the longevity of our roads.
I have one question. This may be centered to you or possibly Kyle Miller. With regard to the Keller Street possibility of this, I know there's infrastructure work that needs to be done there, but I'm of the understanding that that road actually has bricks under it, similar to Main Street. Is that true?
Yes, we spoke to him. I spoke to him specifically about Keller Street. When Suez was up there and did a water project, we found a lot of gold bricks that ironically were actually made in Lewistown that were used to do that road. They were gold colored. They weren't gold bricks.
If they were, we could pave a lot of roads.
We'd be paving a whole lot of stuff if they were gold. But they cannot, the cement and the chemical analysis will not work with the bricks. So we would have to dispose of those. But millings from other projects we could bring in and mix with that stuff and save a lot of costs. So we could end up repaving the road, but using recycled paving.
All right.
Did he
That
offer
answers
you?
my question. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I jumped on you.
No, that's okay.
Did he offer you a cost analysis? Are there any numbers that we can take a look at?
We have to do a few core samples first. His first step would be to do have the geo come in, and then they could figure out the chemicals. But I don't have it written down. He did some quick calculations. Basically, what he said is we paved Allendale Road. Greg's original cost estimate was $850,000. The bid actually came in at a little over $600,000. He said you could have technically, since there was no bricks under that road, and doing the re-crowning of the road, he said you probably could have done it for about maybe 2/3 to a little over half of the cost of what we paid to do that. So that was the closest that he could come up with based on the square yardage.
So I presume maybe this helps John's question that when all these things are accomplished, we can get a better cost analysis from that.
Yep.
Did they give you an example of a municipality where it's been done? If you like something we could...
He had a few that he did. He did not give me anything. He wanted to go. He drove the roads to see what conditions they were in, what we could look for. He did recommend a few. He said the geotech. He said you could do that without bidding. It is going to be it's going to have to be a bidded process. We're going to have to go out. There are 2 or 3 companies in Pennsylvania that do this. They're the first ones that come up on a Google search, and they're the ones that had the most extensive client list on their webpage.
Kyle, we have done projects locally with Newberry Township, have used a similar technology. It's not exactly the same, but same kind of concept. And to answer John's question specifically, I think they saw it was about a 70% savings. So that would be right around not 70% savings, a 30% savings. It was 70% of the
30%.
cost.
For the record, I like 70% better.
I like gold bricks better too. So
Yeah, I like gold bricks better. It'd be like the guy in the commercial that catches the gold fish. That would have been quite a find. All right. Well, thank you for the information on that. I think that's a viable thing that we ought to really look into.
Okay, we'll proceed with it. I'll get in touch with the geotech through engineer Rogalski, and we'll see what we can do as far as coming up with a. One of the things that they did recommend was that you have the paving plan because they can help us with financing through certain people. They have banks that they have dealt with that have very attractive rates. And not to use Councilman Anthony's term, money's cheap right now. So he's suggesting that we start looking at this, use 2021 as a planning year, and then start the plan next year. So I think we got a little bit of work to do going forward, and we can probably come up with a decent paving plan, infrastructure repair plan for 2022 and going forward from there.
We hope.
Yes.
All right. Anything else for the manager? Hearing none, it's the mayor's turn. Mr. Mayor, are you unmuted yet?
He cannot. He just texted me and said he cannot get unmuted for some reason. I'm trying everything from my end and it's not working either.
All right. Well, Mr. Mayor, if you're hearing us, if you get it fixed, we'll let you come in later. We'll go to Chief of Police report. Chief Myers.
I don't have a report, but I would like to publicly thank Chief Neff and the Mechanicsburg Fire Department for their assistance with 2 incidents that we recently had. One involved a missing child and the other involved, a canine rescue. So not their normal course of business, but they were very gracious to assist us with those, and I appreciate it.
Wonderful.
That's
Thank you.
all.
Any questions for the chief?
Well, I'd like to chime in with that. I'm glad that I'm part of a working relationship with police. I believe there was some muddied waters from years ago that we were able to let pass. And the fire department loves working with police, and we're interacting even more than we ever were even a year ago. And it is just a real blessing for the folks in the community because they're the end users. So we rely on the police just as for multiple functions also whenever there's a fire accident. So I want to say thank you as well, Chief Myers.
All good to hear. Thank you very much. Any questions for Chief Myers? Moving on to the solicitor's report. Mr. Zai, do you have anything?
No, I spoke with Mike Cassidy before tonight's meeting, and he indicated there wasn't anything to report for this evening. But if there's anything that any members of council have as far as questions for me, I would be happy to answer them to the best of my abilities or pass them along to Mike if he's more familiar with the topic.
Very good. Thank you so much. And thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate it.
Of course, happy to be here.
Fire Chief's report.
Okay, I have a couple things. The first off was last, I guess about a week and a half ago, I was able to participate. Am I muted?
No, you're good, Gary.
You're good.
I was able to, I was asked to participate and represent the borough, not only the borough of Mechanicsburg, but also the other 2,200 fire companies in the state of Pennsylvania for a talk show with the Pennsylvania State Fire Commissioner Bruce Trego. So we got together and did a tabletop, and they filmed, and some of the hot button topics that we covered were not only how did we manage the fire department through the COVID crisis with keeping our responders safe. There were other issues as far as we were talking about the challenges for recruitment, retention, those type of things. How do we do it? Then we also talked about they wanted to use us as a model for the reformation of the fire services. And with that, we got into a very good discussion on, council's involvement and how we were able to make it all the pieces come together and how good it was for the community as the result. So all good stuff. I will tell you that they did send back, I have the dates for the airing. They, right now it's scheduled there 4 times on the Pennsylvania Cable Network, PCN show. And that'll be Saturday, May 30th at 7:30 a.m. It will be Sunday, June 6th at 7:30 a.m. as well. Sunday, June 13th at 5 p.m. and Sunday, June 20th at 7:30 p.m. It was also, they said that they're probably going to be able to use it in several schools in different capacities throughout the state. Mainly, I think that they're trying to touch on an early, grab the students for early recruitment. So it was all good, and I'm hoping that I did a good job. I understand it turned out pretty good. So that's what I have with that. The other thing would be, part of my report was the fire vehicle for the, ask permission for the command vehicle. I didn't know, boss, if you wanted to.
That's down below under, that's an agenda item, Gary.
Okay.
Yep.
All righty. And that's all I have. Other than that, it's business as usual.
All right, thank you, Chief Neff. Any questions for the chief? Hearing none, we'll move on to the EMC report. Mr. Wardle.
Good evening, everyone. I submitted a report on Sunday. Hopefully you have all received it. Lots of data in there as usual, but I did want to highlight one of the paragraphs, I believe the last one. And it says, while numbers in all cases are trending in a positive direction, the next month is going to be very indicative of the future of the coronavirus in Pennsylvania, with the lifting of mitigation along with Memorial Day, proms, graduation, the beginning of summer. That will really determine if our numbers increase again or if our recent downward trend continues or levels off. And this will paint quite a picture as to where things are going to go for the rest of the year. For example, today there were less than 1,300 cases statewide, which for a Wednesday is fantastic. And our hope is that that will continue. So that's what I have.
Very good. Any questions for EMC Wardle? All right, am I missing anyone? How about engineers report? Do we have an engineers report?
That's at the first meeting of the month.
That's right. Okay.
But
thank
if
you.
Greg wants to add in,
Well, I noticed he's here and he did chime in. I'm sure he may chime in on other things here.
Pool's done.
Thank you. You're my favorite.
I don't know if
That's
it's
what we
dry
wanted to
yet,
hear.
but it's done. But
there's
it's
no
not
water
in
in it yet.
Yeah, there's no water yet.
Oh.
You want water? That's
Done.
not part of the deal.
But I heard there's going to be water by the end of this week.
We're gonna
We'll
try.
We'll
That's
all
what I
have to
heard.
boil water and take it down there to make it nice and warm for Memorial Day.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any additions to this evening's agenda?
No, sir. There is a subtraction from the agenda that we will not need to recess to an executive session on a matter of personnel. Solicitor Miller could not make it tonight. He had three other meetings he had to attend. So he could not make it tonight to discuss that agenda item.
Okay. Any other additions or deletions, sir?
No, sir.
Okay. So we will need a motion to approve the agenda as presented in your packet.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Agerton. Is there a second?
I'll
I'll second that.
I think I heard Kyle Miller first. Sorry, Rod. So
That's
Mr.
all right.
Miller gets the second on that one. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, unless I hear a negative response, we'll record the vote as unanimous. And hearing none, the motion carries. The agenda is approved. And now, Mr. Szewski, you may continue with the action items before council this evening.
All right. Discussion and action on adjusting the lifeguard hourly starting pay to $10 an hour, providing a $200 taxable bonus for the lifeguards at the pool if they work the entire year as scheduled, no call-offs or late for work, and have 5 or less days of vacation. I had already run this by Solicitor Cassidy, and as long as the $200 is taxable, it's legal to do under a borough code.
All right. And just for a point of, we actually should have a motion before we have discussion.
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Agerton. Is there a second?
I'll second.
That's Mr. Pellman.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a proper motion in a second. Now, is there any discussion?
So I
We have money in the budget. We have money in the budget for that, right?
Yes.
Okay, not a problem.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, after a lengthy discussion with our rec committee, we found that our hourly rate for lifeguards was below the rec, the park staff for the camps. The other issue is just being able to pay them a fair wage during a really tough season. So Roger was able to run the numbers, and it does fit within our proposed budget. We just want to make sure that we're in line to be able to pay our lifeguards who are going out there and doing really tough work, that they're being paid fairly, and making sure that we can recruit enough lifeguards to be able to keep that pool open and running safely all summer.
Any other discussion?
How are we doing with recruiting or hiring for lifeguards?
We have, I think it's 17. We have 15 confirmed, two that are yet to be confirmed lifeguards. We have a full stock of concession stand and front desk people. They're going to work quite a few hours, but we did cut back the hours at the pool from 1 to 8. They're going to be 1 to 5 the first weekend because just getting things up and running, getting the bugs worked out of things. So Memorial Day weekend, it'll be 1 to 5. And then starting the first week of June, it would be the second full week of June. It's going to be 1 to 8 is what the hours are going to be. And we should have plenty to start with then. Given rain dates and stuff like that, I think we'll be in good shape.
What's the current rate of pay? Can you remind me? That we're going?
It's $9.25 to start right now.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we have to remain competitive, and I know there are other places out there that are offering bonuses just for interviews, and
yeah.
So.
I did tell the rec board, we need to start talking about this at budget time, not 2 weeks before the pool's supposed to open. Just to keep this stuff in mind. And one of the problems that we run into is the fact that the school has a fiscal calendar, a fiscal budget cycle. We run on an annual budget cycle, so there's a 6-month discrepancy there between the two of them, and that causes some problems. But this proves that it's not unovercomable.
Nice word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, unless I hear a negative response, we'll record the vote as unanimous. And hearing no negative responses, the motion carries. Next item, please.
Discussion and action to authorize the fire chief to purchase a 2014 Ford Explorer as a command vehicle for $16,500 using fire capital revenue. That was in attachment 2 in your packets.
Yes. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Whitcomb. A second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony. Is there any discussion? You've all seen the report. Unless I hear any other discussion, we will call for the question. Unless I hear a negative response, we will record the vote as unanimous. And the motion carries. Go get your truck, Chief. All right, next item.
Discussion and action to reschedule the conditional use hearing for 308 East Main Street to June 1st, 2020 at 7:15 p.m.
All right.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Pellman. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Whitcomb. Any discussion?
I will apologize for this. Mr. Cassidy and I were both dealing with some personal issues, and we got our timetables mixed up. And I've already spoken to the applicant. He is very understanding. He just is happy that we can get this thing accomplished in the 60-day time frame that we have. It came down to a matter of advertising, and that's what it was. This will allow us to advertise it the way the MPC requires us to advertise it.
That's correct. Just to confirm, I discussed this with Mike beforehand, and we will be compliant with the MPC by meeting on the 1st.
Thank you, Mr. Zeib. Any other discussion?
So we'll be cutting is that not our regular committee meeting?
Okay, we will be reconvening our committee meeting at 6 p.m. that night.
Right.
So that we can start looking at the comprehensive plan.
So we're assuming that'll be over by 7:15.
Well, you know how much material is in there. We may be reconvening again to complete that.
Okay.
But I think we'll get a good start. You all right with that? Everyone? I wanted to make that point before we went to a vote on this so that you would all understand that we're going to cut into that by 15 minutes. Realizing, of course, we can start a meeting late. We just can't start it early. So that we're covered.
This one, we're going to have a court recorder here. So we need to get 7:15 is when this one has to start.
7:15, we must start on time with that.
I think Engineer Rogalski's comments on it were pretty clean. The applicant can address those during the meeting. And then later tonight, this may be in council chambers too. So I don't see, most of our conditional uses lately have not gone more than 15 minutes.
Very good. So we'll call for the question. Unless I hear a negative response, we'll record the vote as unanimous. And hearing none, the motion carries. Next item, please.
Discussion of action to approve the 2020 draft audit by Trout Associates.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Whitcomb. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I think that was Mr. Pellman jumped in there first, Mr. Anthony. So we do have a proper motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, unless I hear a negative response, we'll record the vote as unanimous. And the motion carries. Next item, please.
Discussion and action to offer an e-billing option for utility bills beginning with the July 2021 billing.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony. A second?
I'll
Second.
second.
I think that was Mrs. Agerton first, but I couldn't tell. Is there any discussion?
What's the cost on offering that service?
I couldn't tell you exactly. I mean, it is very minimal for us to get it set up. It's a matter of basically, I think we did a few test runs, and it worked out pretty well with Councilman Miller through the authority side, and I think Mr. Van Kirk was included in that. So we did a few test runs that way, but this will also help us save on the mailings and a few other things once people get signed up for it.
All I can add is that I would like it to be properly advertised and as an option.
That's why we want to go July with this. So we want to get this on the agenda at the end of May. Gives us time to work out all the bugs and get the advertisement out for July.
From what I understood from the assistant manager's explanation was it's already a part of our software process, so it doesn't take much to implement.
And is it possible we could do something like, say, PP&L and some of the other utilities do now, where on your bill there's the option that gives you the information? Is that one of the methods you're going to use? Or
for the people that don't sign up with us putting a web blast out, we'll use Nextdoor, we'll use Facebook, we'll use the website. Run some ads in the and ask some certain people to share it. And then on the bill itself, for people that didn't sign up, we'll put something on there that you can pay this by e-bill. Yeah. Yep.
And the next newsletter that comes out with the sewer and refuse bill, you could put a blurb on there.
Yes.
Anything
absolutely.
you can do to get the word out.
Yep. As much as possible.
Then the other thing we'll have to eventually discuss, if there are a lot of people that sign on to this option, we'll need to ramp up our newsletter email program, because there will be no newsletter on the back of the e-bill. So that is just a downside to the e-billing system. So we'll just have to, I think this is something the committee will take a look at, the municipal and community outreach, and discussing our newsletter capacity. But the good thing is that, when you sign up for this e-billing program, you do get the person's email address. So we could potentially beef up our email database.
Yeah, and we've been doing that too at closings, trying to get email addresses for the people that are buying homes and stuff like that when they call for closing numbers. So we're doing that as much as we can to get email addresses and cell phone numbers so that we have them on our records too.
Otherwise, I was a test subject, and I did like the e-billing platform, so it was very convenient for me. The only comment I would have is if there's a way to remind, like a push reminder.
We'll have to. That's one of the bugs we have to look at.
But because I had to, I had to remember to pay it, so it was, that's one of the issues I could see cropping up, is that it would be a nice bonus or service to the residents to add some sort of tickle. I think they call it like a tickle reminder to pay their bill.
Agreed.
Can I ask too, just so that I can understand it in case I'm asked about it, Kyle, when you received the bill, were you able to pay it electronically then, or did you have to print out the bill to pay it by check? How did that work?
No, I paid it electronically.
You have that option to do that now though, right?
Right, but I received my bill in the mail, and this would give you a link to pay the bill. Yeah. And
people pay more when you pay electronically, correct? To cover the cost?
Yes.
It's a small, like $1.75 or something.
Yeah, I think it's a percentage. I know credit cards are 2.93% convenience fee. I'm not sure what the convenience fee is for that, but that's because
credit card and ACH, I think.
There is a cash advance. Yes.
Okay. As long as we're covering our costs, if we get a lot of people that switch to online paying because we're offering an online bill, we could see an increase in our costs if we're not covering it. So
I did ask Glenn, I did ask the assistant manager about that. That was one of my questions after the test billing, and I noticed there was a service fee. It was small, but the fee was passed on to me to pay it rather than the borough. So I don't think, I asked if there was the opportunity, like if that was just something that it was within our contract or whatever, you know, that we were paying for that level of service, that happened. Like, so if we had more people sign up, would it be worth us paying the fee versus the customer paying the fee? Or is it just always worth passing it on to the customer? So that was my question. It seemed like there was no option. In other words, that Glenda said that this was just the program and there was no level for service. It was just, this was the,
I got you. And it didn't go to your spam, did it?
no.
I got you. Okay, thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, unless I hear a negative response, we'll record the vote as unanimous. And hearing none, the motion carries. At this point in the meeting is the second opportunity for citizens' comments. Are there any citizens' comments at this time? If so, use your raise hand feature so the manager can unmute you.
Yes, this is Melissa Halsey. I was able to unmute myself. I wanted to speak about the sale of Claremont that the county is proposing and ask the Borough Council to urge the county to pause the sale of the Claremont Nursing and Rehabilitation Center. I'm concerned about the quality of care for our most vulnerable residents, and the care in a for-profit facility is traditionally lower than the care that I think that our residents are receiving now at Claremont. The sole bidder, Belair, has more fire safety violations and penalties than Claremont has, as listed on the Medicare site. If the Borough Council would pass a resolution calling on the county to at least pause the sale and look at alternatives to the sale and maybe even get some citizen input into it, they would be joining Carlisle, Newville, and Mount Holly Springs Borough Councils in doing that. I just would like to ask you to urge the county to look into this before they go ahead and sell Claremont.
Thank you. Does anybody have any comments they'd like to make regarding?
Yes, this is Nate. If you need any input from somebody who has information on that as far as for profits and also the proposed buyer, please let me know.
Ms. Halsey, is there a time frame currently for this?
I understand that they're talking about June.
So President Weber, I spoke to one of our county commissioners today in regards to this. It does appear that they are moving ahead. They have gotten the building appraised. I think it came in today. But I did express that, you know, transparency with the sale of this and making sure that they're reviewing the buyers, the potential buyers, to make sure that they're ensuring quality care. And they assured me that they are looking into lots of options. They're very aware of the pause the sale campaign that is out there. And they told me that they are aware of it, and that's kind of where they're at this point. So I will continue to speak to the county commissioners about the concerns. And thank you, Melissa, for bringing it to our attention.
My suggestion would be for council to take consideration of this and maybe move on a resolution at our next meeting. Once you all get a chance to review the information. I've been attached to the email trail on this for quite some time, and I've been following it, and it's very interesting situation we have going up at Claremont. So thank you very much for your input. We appreciate it.
So President Weber, are you saying that you'll have a resolution prepared for us to vote on at the next meeting?
We can do that if it's in council's wishes for us to continue with that. Do I hear anybody offering anything negative toward that? I don't hear any negative responses. So could we formulate a resolution to be voted on at the next meeting, Mr. Szewski?
Yeah, I'll get with Nate and with Sarah and get the information from them as to what they want. We'll float one out and draft for those two, and then we'll get something formulated for the June 1st meeting.
Okay, and get that to us as soon as we
Yes,
can,
I
so we
will.
all can review it.
In
So there's
addition-
no hesitation on our part.
In addition to the resolution, I would appreciate, Nate, if you could send me any information you have regarding the potential buyer.
I don't have any here. I'm going to have to defer to Nate or Sarah or someone on that. The borough office has kind of stayed out of the loop of that, or been kept out of the loop of what was going on. I do hear bits and pieces from the ladies when they're talking out front, but we have not been contacted by the county about this. We've had a few citizens, mention it, and they've been suggested to come to council and make a recommendation for a resolution such as Ms. Halsey did.
So Nate, maybe I can give you a call this week and we can put our heads together with some of the information that we both have to present we can send to council. So.
Yeah, that works. I will just add for everyone that 2 of the more recent homes to go from being county owned to being for profit are Brighton Rehabilitation in Beaver County, which you may have heard of because they have had one of the highest COVID death rates and case rates in the country, and Pleasant Acres in York.
Nate, what about the Lebanon County home? I know that they were the county, but are they private now?
I know that that's been a recent transition that has occurred over the last, I think, months and years. I'm not sure if it was finalized. I think they may have been in the process of trying to finalize when COVID started and may have had to put a pause on that. But okay. I can check.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your help.
I'm thinking I'll have to come up to speed on this issue if we're gonna be asked to vote on a resolution. So appreciate any information anyone can provide.
Yeah,
on both sides.
I have both sides of the argument in my email, so I can forward that to council for your review.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right, are there any other citizens' comments at this time?
Yeah, yes, Ms. Matthews had raised her hand up.
Okay,
Thank you.
There you are.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. I've been observing your meetings, and I just wanted to thank the people who are representing us here and for all the work that has been done to get the pool open. I know that there's community members who really rely on this as something that they do each summer. And you guys have worked diligently, men and women, to get this together. And I just went out to see the pool today and it is looking very good. And I also just, as a note, that $10 is actually a little bit below the average rate that's going. It's between $10.26 an hour to up to $12.91 for starting. So the $10 rate is well within the average of our area. So, you guys, they were actually prudent in choosing $10 as the number. So I just thought, you haven't heard anything from me since I started watching, and I wanted you to know that I did understand the work that you're doing.
Thank you very much. And we especially thank the staff and the rec board for their due diligence. Thank you for your comments. Any other citizens' comments? I'm not seeing any, so we will do the any other business, starting with Mrs. Agerton.
Yeah, I just want to invite everyone out this Saturday at 10 a.m. There's going to be a South Mountain Greenway trolley meetup to kind of kick off their excitement for hopefully the bike trail. It's going to be at Talking Breads off of Trindle Road. So it's a good place to eat. They have a wonderful bread and all kinds of fun things. So if you guys want to ride your bike down there or ride in my car like I'm going to do, I hope to see you guys there.
Thank you. Mr. Anthony,
I have nothing tonight. Thank you.
thank you very much. Mr. Miller,
Nothing to add.
thank you. Mr. Pellman,
Yes, I want to let people know that even though the Memorial Day parade was canceled, there will still be a memorial service held in the cemetery at 11 o'clock on Memorial Day.
very good. Thank you. Mr.
Councilman-
Whitcomb,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nothing, sir.
Do you need volunteers for that day to help lay wreaths or do anything for that? I'm not sure what you guys.
No,
want.
actually, the service organizations handle all that, and it's at the GAR Circle, the Grand Army of the Republic Circle, where the Civil War statue is, and they do it every year on Memorial Day, and there's never any wreaths laid, but and I don't know how big of an event it'll be this year. Obviously, with COVID, it may keep some people from wanting to gather there, but there will still be one. I talked to Nancy Kreiner, who's usually the head of getting this whole thing together, and she said yes at 11 o'clock on Memorial Day. So if anybody wants to join the service, that would be wonderful.
Thank you.
thank
Sorry.
you. We sort of interrupted you there, Mr. Whitcomb. Do you have anything to add?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay, Chief Neff, anything?
No, I don't have anything additional. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Myers?
No, thank you.
Mayor Ritter, are you able to unmute yet?
I don't know if he,
Apparently not. Well, you're here in spirit, and we appreciate that. Let's see, EMC Wardle, anything to add?
Nothing additional for me. Thank you.
Like Engineer Rogowski,
No, sir. Thank you.
Solicitor's eye?
Nope, nothing for me.
Anyone else that I missed? Mr. Szewski, there you are. I always save you for last.
I know, because I always have to say something. First off, I'd like to start out with congratulating Mr. Wardle for another promotion at work. Nate, I'm sorry, I forgot exactly what it was, but I know you and I talked about it the other day, and a couple weeks ago was a fog. I apologize. So congratulations, Nate. The second thing is I'd like to talk about is the office opening. I know that was something that we decided to talk about at the second meetings of every month. I kind of developed a plan to open up the office. I ran this by EMC Wardle, and the other people that have looked at it are pretty much on board with it. I think there's a few things that we'd like to. One of the things, the main thing is probably the one-way circuit through the office. Bring them in the front, send them out the side door, and proceed like that. Now the police, that's a little more difficult because they either use the stairways or the elevator. So I'm looking at potentially 8:30 a.m. June 1st, which would be the Tuesday of council meeting, of unlocking the doors and welcoming the public back in. I know the ladies would appreciate that. They're getting a lot of exercise up and down, answering the doorbell, and taking pool passes and stuff out. The pool pass has picked up tremendously with the weather forecast this week. That seems to be every 4 out of the 5 phone calls we get in a given time are about pool passes. So it started to pick up very briskly. Quick update: yes, the paint is done, or the epoxy is done. It's curing. I am hoping to get water in it this Friday. We may end up pushing it off to Monday. It depends on when I can get Aqua Specialist in there to double check all the pumps and the chemical feeds and get all that stuff squared away. The Aqua Zippins have been retrofitted with new retractors. Russell Moy, the owner of Pyramid Entertainment Structures, he was up yesterday. Him and I worked with 2 engineers from his company out of Colorado, and we retrofitted the new and improved retraction systems with Kevlar rope and a modified window weight to basically pull the ropes back. So they should be good. He's going to guarantee them for all year, that we don't have to replace them like we did 2 years ago. Plus a few more improvements they've made to the aqua zippins. Some of them we're going to get for free, other ones we're going to have to pay for, but we're bringing everything up to date. And so we are, for all intents and purposes, going to be open Memorial Day weekend at the pool.
Okay, piggybacking. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, real quick, Roger. I was one of those people that paid for my pool pass last year and just let them keep the money for this year. Will I hear anything, or can I just assume that I have a pool pass for this year?
Yes, Sarah is getting caught up on new applicants this year, and she comes in tomorrow. She's only working 2 days a week. Her and Glenda and I are going to sit down, and we're going to figure out a way to get people scheduled to come in and get pictures taken, get their passes printed out. If you have an existing pass, we're not going to issue new ones. We will just reactivate it in the system that we have. The same way, but if you're a new applicant, Scott, I don't know if you had one before or not. We're going to ask you to, you had one before? All right, then we'll probably just reset that. And she has everyone's email addresses. She's going to do an email blast to everyone and let them know that their pool pass has been activated, particularly the ones that paid in 2009 or 2020 that we didn't open in 2020.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
My only comment to the opening of the office is, why wait till Tuesday? What can't we do it on Monday?
We can. I mean, the blue tape is on the floor. I have 6 foot. I'll make
It just seems
signs.
logical to me to start on a Monday. That's all. Although it is a holiday weekend, so
Monday's
perhaps
Memorial
Tuesday
Day.
is better.
Monday's Memorial Day, where the office is
Right.
closed.
Yeah, you're right. So Tuesday it is.
I thought
My
you meant this
mistake.
coming Monday. I was going to say I've got to make signs yet. I mean,
Tuesday's fine.
Okay. All right.
Everybody good with that?
That's okay.
Good job. All right.
Now,
Anything else, Mr. Szarski?
Council meetings live or on Memorex?
Can we do a live feed?
Well, do we go back to meeting in person, June, for the June
I'm
1st
sorry.
meeting?
Yeah, we didn't get to that yet, did we?
No, we did. I didn't mean
My
to
2
steal your
cents
thunder
is
there.
yes, we go back live.
So can we offer the ability for people to watch the meeting live stream if they don't feel comfortable coming in?
At this point, no, I have not got the price quotes back for what it would cost for us to do that.
Could we do what we're doing here and have one person just run the meeting so that people can attend it this way?
I don't have a camera that will, they're only going to see certain people in the council chambers. They're not going to see the entire council to have that done that way.
Would President Weber be willing to be that person?
Oh, most certainly.
I thought
What
you
I
might.
would suggest is perhaps instead of having a person, just put the borough logo up and say that, we can't show video yet, but at least they can listen in. Is that possible? I don't know how we would handle the citizens' comments under that format, though.
That would be very difficult to do because we'd have to have everybody that was on a Zoom meeting on a computer, and there'd have to be somebody to let them unmute or ask them to unmute when they raise their hands.
Yeah,
Could Sarah or Glenda be available to do that? I mean,
well, we don't have the camera for one to show them what's going on in council, to show the council interaction and stuff like that.
I'm completely fine if they don't see it. I just think that, my concern is, and I know we don't have a huge amount of participation, but I wouldn't want someone not to be able to come. So if we had a laptop like this and we had a Zoom meeting, could we have one person allow comments to be, could we unmute the comments from the laptop? Like if Sarah, Glenda, or you could do it, or you think that is impossible?
Sarah, if I may throw something out there, we've been through a couple meetings in other municipalities where they've attempted this, and it actually has turned out worse than it was with everybody being on Zoom. And it really was related to the audio. It wasn't related to the video. And I think it was an unintended consequence of trying to do the right thing. But particularly with that was even with a 3-person board, versus the size of the board that's in Mechanicsburg. I think you're going to struggle a little bit with audio. Just throwing it out there so you can be aware of it. So.
Yeah, I'm comfortable myself going back in person because I've been vaccinated and I will continue to wear a mask. But I just, for those that are not comfortable, I still have that hesitation that I wish we had an alternative for those members if they want to, because I would not want them not to be able to participate. And I get that we don't have a lot of participants, but it's just something that I think we should keep into mind, that should be our goal.
Well, I think it could be our goal down the line, but I don't think we have the technology to do it right now. I really think we need to get back live. I think we'll actually have more people there if we go live than we have during the Zoom meetings. That's just my personal opinion.
If we go back live and everybody wears a mask, what else can we do?
We still have the council chamber set up social distance style.
Yep.
So I think the seating could be like that. I think this is something that we should look forward to, and this is something that I'd like to use some of the COVID money allotment to address and potentially meet some of the goals that that Councilman Miller and a few others have expressed about doing a live version of this. And I think that's the other part of getting that social media person on board and getting them up and running. And we can do this and have them potentially come in and set that up. I'll be honest with you, what I've learned from Zoom, I've learned in the last few year and a half. So it's been interesting. We have done some planning commission meetings where the engineer actually took this laptop, set it on the podium, and turned the microphone over top of it. And the engineer from another firm, who their firm wasn't letting them participate in live meetings, and we've had planning commission members do that. The problem with it's just one person. If you've got 6 or 8 persons doing that, trying to broadcast that out to other people when they want to make a comment is going to be very difficult.
All right.
Nate.
Well, so the point at this point is council comfortable with going live again?
So I did want to add that based on something that Rodney said, I think it's going to be important for council to make a decision as to whether masks are required in council chambers, because they are no longer required from a state perspective for people who are vaccinated. And of course, you can't ask, you could, but you're not going to ask people if they're vaccinated. So I do think that in whatever you determine, you should include language that says whether or not people will be required to wear a mask, so that that is well known in advance.
So I would say my comfort level would only be if people wear masks, because although you get vaccinated and you won't be as sick, I work in healthcare and I do not want me or any of my council members that may be at risk of contracting even a small amount of COVID. So I would be comfortable if we were all masked. That was in the language.
If we're going to go live and we allow people into the council chambers, I think that everybody should be wearing a mask in the council chambers.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go with that for the month of June, and then we'll reevaluate at the end of June to see how things are going, like we did with the virtual versus live. Is that agreeable?
That's good.
Sounds good to me.
All right. So
Okay.
Good.
you can announce that we're going live, Mr. Szewski, and masks are required. We'll put signage on the doors, and we will also announce that at the beginning of the meeting.
Yep, we'll get it on social media and we'll blast it out as much as we can on everything. Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we should advertise it pretty well.
All right.
Okay.
Everybody okay with that? Not seeing any head shakers, so that's good. All right. We'll be seeing everybody then on June the 1st.
At 6
Same
p.m.
day that the office opens.
At 6 p.m.
All right, at 6 p.m. Anything else for the good of the order? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned, and I want to thank everyone for their